All right. This is the Public Utilities Commission meeting, October 1st, 2025 at 3:02 p.m. Roll call. Charles?
Present.
Craig is present. Shane is present. Mike and Patrick. Approve agenda and the minutes of our last meeting, which was August 5th, 2025. If anybody has any, Charles, if you got any questions about the minutes of our last meeting or the agenda we're gonna cover today.
Everything seemed to be in order.
Everything's good, so we have a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes,
I move to approve.
and I will second that. And moving on to first item on our agenda is the Zeph Fast Charger Agreement, which we have got an amended new agreement for the charger, and the new company we'll be working with. This is the fast charger, right?
Yep.
The fast charger, which is in the same location as it was prior to the construction of City Hall.
Yep.
Okay. What do we need to discuss on this, since we've already?
Yeah, this is more of an update now than an ask, because
Yeah, it's
we
an
had to
update.
take action. This was the result of your your last meeting that you held. We did talk about this at some length, and then Shane has been working with various companies to get it all negotiated. Details you want to share?
Yeah, this agreement is between us and Zeph to put a ChemPower charging station back there, which is a different brand than our current fast charger. Tritium, they went out of business. They've been difficult for even Zeph to work with. So when Zeph approached us about a new charging station, we said, sure, but not Tritium. This is ChemPower, different company, still in business, doing very well. So the agreement is for Zeph to give us a 50 kW ChemPower charging station at no cost to the city. And yeah, there was, I guess, a little bit of cost because we had to go through their legal agreement and mark it up so that it suits the city's needs. And so that's what we have in front of you. And you've already signed it.
Yeah, we've already signed it. But anyway, this was a grant from MPCA that Zeph obtained.
Yeah, Zeph got money from the MPCA to build out a charging network, or to continue to build out the charging network. And so they gave this same offer to, I think, 6 SIMPA cities that were on the MPCA's approved corridors. And Grand Marais, being on Highway 61, was an approved corridor. And so they gave us this offer.
Okay.
We
So,
don't know if anybody else took them up on it.
We do know, and others, I don't know how many, but I think most of the cities that were offered did take Zeph up on it.
Most of the SIMPA cities?
Yes.
that had the.
The 6.
Previous,
Yeah.
they got rid of the previous chargers and installed.
That I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, we couldn't-
Unfortunately, our fast charger, the Tritium one,
Yeah.
is one of just a few that broke.
Oh, okay.
So there are other Tritium chargers in SIMPA cities that are still working, that are not getting used as much as ours. Maybe that's why ours broke. I don't think it is,
Oh.
but
But you can't get them fixed.
I'm working with Zeph to get it fixed. They think they can obtain the parts
Oh.
and send someone up here. They haven't been able to show that, but I'm still working with them. Like, we're still on their ticket to fix that fast charger. And if it does get fixed,
We'll have 2.
we'll have 2, and we can put them both right out there. And so
Okay.
our charging bank can kind of be there.
So right now, we have 0 fast chargers?
We have 0 working fast chargers, one
One broken
decorative,
fast charger.
one decorative thing that looks like a fast charger but doesn't do anything.
Right, that's the Tritium.
Yeah, it's still over at the campground from when we moved it for the construction.
Okay, so we have a slow charger at the campground and 2 slow chargers here?
Nope. We have, a level 2, which you're calling a slow charger, which can charge 2 cars at once at the campground, and then the same here, 2 cars at once.
Yeah. Right.
which is, a level 2 is slower than a fast charger, but it's faster than a level 1.
Fair. And then the tritium then would go here, right by.
Yeah, if we can get it fixed.
I mean, sorry, the new
The new one,
Yeah, the
Chem power.
the Chem Power.
Chem Power.
it's going here, they haven't installed it yet.
They haven't installed it yet. It must be installed before December 31st.
Oh, okay.
And it's, we've given them a site. We've given them power to the
Power,
site.
everything's there,
They are going to come and they're going to install that.
They Zeph.
Zeph, yep.
Zeph.
But that's going here.
Yep.
And then you'd say that tritium might also go here if we can get it fixed, or the tritium stay down at the rec park.
I think the tritium would also come over here because there's a mini sub
We have room
that
for it.
that runs the charging station, and there's space in that mini sub for the tritium and the Chem Power
And the slow charger,
and the slow charger.
the medium charger.
Yep, there's space for all three of those. I think, don't hold your breath on getting that tritium fixed. It's been really, really slow.
So
Yeah.
it may or may not get fixed, kind of is what you're
It
saying.
may not get fixed with a very slight may get fixed.
I see.
And that's because of parts, is that the problem?
It's because of parts, it's because of we're far away, and Zeph partners with a third party or a fourth party at this point to do their maintenance, and
So,
they're not very reliable.
all right, well, that's good, we're going with a new charger with a new contract, which is a good way to go instead of trying to, otherwise we'd sit here and bumble around and probably not have a charger, because we don't know when we'd have a fast charger,
Right.
really, so.
I don't get what Zeph gets out of this deal.
They get 10% of our charging
Revenues.
revenues, and that's kind of their company. They distribute chargers, so we're just one of many entities they work with. They may work with other cities or businesses, or just
The more they get out there,
yeah, they distribute chargers, and their app is something that EV drivers then they get here and they download the app, because if they haven't used a Zeph charger, they have to download the app, and then they have to put money onto their account, and then they get to charge. And so, yeah, Zeph, just a EV charging company.
Okay.
They don't make the chargers,
Right.
but they distribute them.
Are they nationwide?
I think they're just Minnesota,
Minnesota.
maybe a little bit outside of Minnesota. I haven't looked into that.
Okay.
So how do you feel about having Zeph, with which we have had less than optimal experience?
Yeah.
How do you feel about them?
It's
having
not ideal.
The maintenance guys for the next 5 years.
They're not the best to work with. They do. I have contacts who will get back to me about things, and they give us the assurance that this charging station will be much less finicky than the last one. Take them at their word or not on that. But
I'm gonna go with not.
yeah, the only reason we're doing this is because they're offering it to us at zero cost.
Zero, yeah.
When their first proposal was, we'll do this and you pay $18,000 and it's another tritium charger, we just flat out said no.
Right.
And no Simpa City took them up on that offer. And they pitched it to the Simpa board, and nobody had anything good to say about Zeph. And so they've had to, cut back on their offer until it was so appealing that Simpa Cities finally did say, okay, you're giving us a free charger and it's not a tritium charger. Fine, we'll take it. But we're going to also edit your contract severely
Yeah.
so that it suits our needs.
What were the edits? Just curious. Like, what were some of the principal things that were objectionable from the Grand Marais point of view?
I think it was their liability.
They wanted to limit their liability to the amount of money we paid them,
Oh,
which is kind of a problem when you're not paying them anything. Well, frankly, it's a problem ever to think that they should be limited to even $80,000 if we paid full price for this thing. If they have a problem and due to their negligence burn somebody's $200,000 vehicle to the ground,
Right.
or cause some other significant property damage or injury,
yeah.
they should be liable for what their negligence caused, not limit it to something else.
Yeah. And what, yeah. So that, and that's the thing that you might be worried about, right? That, well, somehow their charger screws up and it ruins a Tesla, something,
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
yeah.
There was other stuff in there too.
That, yeah, I mean, but you mean besides just the liability thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
well, everyone will be happy now.
We'll see. If it gets installed, we'll see.
If it gets installed and it works every time somebody tries to use it, and everybody can figure out how to do it, then most people will be happy.
I guess to this point though, we've sunk some of my time and some of Chris's time.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
have
some time into this.
So
We
it's
have
not.
s-
This isn't free. Yeah.
this isn't free, but we haven't paid for it, like the device itself. So
Yeah, yeah.
we have some investment, but not as much as
Well, the project cost is 87,000.
the total. The device costs 87,000.
Yeah, and the MPCA grant was 70,000. Now, when the MPCA grants money for stuff like that, or do they care about product liability or any of that kind of stuff?
No.
They're just funding
That's
it.
between us all. They don't
Okay.
care. They care about, do you have access to renewable energy credits for the power that's used?
Right.
And do you have a deal to maintain it? But they don't care who does it or what the deal is.
Okay.
And from the MPCA side, most of the funding for the state for EV charging grants has come from the VW settlement from when they were,
Oh, yeah.
cheating on their emissions. There was a
Yeah.
settlement and it was distributed to the states, and then Minnesota opted to use it to build out the EV charging network. So
Okay.
that's where the money comes from.
Yeah, and I noticed in the contract, there was this little bit about, it sounded like the intent of the legislature was to have these EV chargers supported by renewable energy production, right? And in lieu of that, then you could buy these rec credits,
Yeah.
is that what this-
On-site renewable for an EV charging station is pretty unrealistic.
Right, right.
I mean, like, come on.
No, right, but you could say, well, I don't know, we have this huge community solar garden and,
Sure.
there's,
As long as they charge at 2 in the afternoon and it's sunny out.
right,
Yeah.
or you have a battery or something, anyway.
Yeah, it could be possible, but like one of the things we know about EV charging stations, just from our campground versus downtown, is that location is absolutely the number one factor, and then number two is how fast does it charge.
Yeah.
And both of those are not conducive to on-site solar, because anywhere you have enough space to put solar, and then to have that
not-
solar be able to meet the demand of a fast charger.
Well, we've got 50 kW of solar on the public works garage roof.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't produce 50 kW.
sure, right, sure, that's maximum output. So, but what is, can you just explain it just briefly? I know this is getting off topic just slightly, but what, there was this agreement, there's somehow like, well, we're not gonna be able to supply this using renewable energy, so we have to buy these rec credits.
Yeah, we can provide, SIMPA has enough ability to provide RECs for ZEF to cover the usage of the charging station. So we meet that requirement of the grant. And RECs are, they're not, you can't really see it, it's not on site, but it's because a wind turbine got put up and there's renewable energy credit associated to that, it can be attributed to the usage here and retired.
Yeah.
And so
Accounting rather than physics at this point.
that's a better way to put it.
Retired, meaning, that portion of the power output from that turbine is no longer available to somebody else.
No one else is able
Can
to
take credit for it.
No one else can take credit for it. That credit is attributed to the charging station usage.
Yeah,
So as long as you trust the accreditation and the accounting, then
Yeah.
it's real.
yeah, and that's Grand Marais' deal, that we have to ensure that that's the case, or how, I couldn't quite understand it in the contract, it's because somebody has to assure that these rec credits are in place.
Yeah, and it's weird because the way the contract's written, it's almost as if they're dealing with a private business who has to also have a side deal with a utility to provide power to the site. Since we are the utility, we don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that kind of thing. So I'm not sure how they're gonna wanna see documentation of, but it's easy enough for us to provide documentation of annually or periodically.
To the PCA, or to the,
To Zeph, if they need it. You know, we don't have any obligation to the PCA because we don't have a deal with them.
Zeph does.
Zeph does.
I see.
Yeah, so the way it's worded here, and this I think is from the grant, is that ZEF can purchase renewable energy credits from the market on our behalf.
I think we were gonna go with a different option though.
Were we?
Yeah. I gotta find that.
Oh, yeah, option 2, in lieu of any direct tie, ZEF will enroll in the available renewable energy program offered by the utility.
Yeah.
So just like you can put RECs on your utility bill, ZEF will just tell us how many RECs they'd like to purchase, and then Simpa just,
Yeah. So this is metered. This has its own separate meter that we're measuring. And when a customer on our system wants to have RECs cover their usage, we just handle that based on their bill. Like on their bill, we'll say, okay, you use this many kilowatts, you bought this many RECs, and here's the charge. So we can just as easily do that on this meter too.
Well, seems like about as good as it gets. Yeah, and fingers crossed it works out,
yeah,
and charger works, and my brother-in-law is happy.
right, yeah. Yeah, and all the people that are looking for a little bit of juice in a short amount of time will be happy.
Yeah, oh, that's nice.
I wonder if
Alright.
it was like this in the 20s up here, that people drove their cars up here, stopped in at City Hall and said, where's the gas? You guys really have an obligation to provide us with a tank of gas. We drove all the way up here.
Yeah, maybe not.
I wonder. I mean, it's kind of the Wild West still, and on the fringes like us. It takes a little bit of planning and courage to drive up here, but
Yeah, yeah, it's the, yeah, as I say, my brother-in-law comes up here in an electric car from up by down by Cambridge, and it's all mapped out and where his stops are gonna be and how long he's gonna be there, and when the charging can happen and how much left in the tank, so to speak. And, yeah, it's complicated.
All right. Okay, moving on to the next item, the 2026 electric draft budget. I guess I'll let Mike
yeah.
brief us on that. Let's see where we're at on this.
Well, this was a
Moving
month
forward.
ago, right?
Yeah.
This was on the agenda.
Yep,
And since then, we've learned a few things. It's confirmed that Simpa's wholesale rates are down 10% next year. That's been approved by the board. That was anticipated in this version of the budget already. It's also
Okay.
confirmed that our health insurance will be increasing by nothing next year. And we had built a 10% increase into our budget.
That's a miracle,
It's actuary, you know,
an actuarial miracle.
that
No, but I
we
mean, that's-
have our experience rating, our usage has been low enough for a number of years that that's what we get. Yeah, even in the face of medical cost inflation.
right.
So it's definitely not universal for people on health insurance in 2026. Feels good. And we know that it's as much luck as anything else because it just takes one random difficulty with an employee, and then we're really glad that we've got this program, but it's going to cost us in the long run. The other thing that is maybe a little different than what's in this version is how much we want to put towards the City Hall project. So we'll talk about that when we get to page 2. You think the wholesale rates are going down 10% next year, we should probably decrease our rates too. And that's an option, but just a quick reminder, they were increased 10% in 2023. And in 2023, we had a 3% rate increase and a 2% in 2024. And so our strategy is not necessarily to match as closely as possible what happens with our wholesale rates. Some cities like to do that, particularly bigger cities with very large customers that don't care about predictability as much as they care about absolute lowest possible cost at all time. But I think it serves our customers better to have some predictability and smoothness to rates rather than they go up and down all the time. And so we have the ability to absorb increases over time, and the way we do that is like this. We have a small increase on a regular basis, even when our costs might be going down a little bit. But if we wanted it to be lower, we could make that happen this year because it's such a significant rate decrease. One of the other things that's going on with SIMPA is last year we started doing an energy cost adjustment on the full-time, which is SIMPA predicting what their total energy costs are on a monthly basis and have a base rate that's attached to that, or a base cost that's attached to that. And when their costs are above that, they pass that on to us in the wholesale rate as an energy cost adjustment on a monthly basis. For folks on, I believe Arrowhead does this, but a lot of utilities pass that on to their customers as well. And we don't. So, but it did result in a higher energy cost for us in 2024, the energy cost adjustment did. So even though they had no wholesale increase in 2024, they did have this energy cost adjustment that cost us about $80,000 in additional wholesale rates. They've made an adjustment after 2025 to how they calculate that base cost for their energy. They're including some more things in there that they did than they did before, which will increase that base number, which means there'll be less need to charge us an energy cost adjustment. Now, the energy cost adjustment works both ways. It can also be a credit to us when their costs come in less, and it's been both, on a month-to-month basis.
Mm-hmm. But you're kind of what you're saying is they've improved their accounting function so that the average cost is going to be closer to the fluctuations.
Well, they looked at 2025 in particular and said we ended in 2024 and said we ended up charging more than we had budgeted in this energy cost adjustment, and we think it's because we left a few elements out of the base cost, particularly hedges that they buy on the market when Sherco is going to be shut down for a period of time. So now they're going to include that in the base cost. It doesn't change their wholesale rate to include that in the base cost. The rate is the rate, but it does mean that there's less chance they'll need to collect charge from us on the energy cost adjustment. So that's good news.
The customer here doesn't feel that, right?
No, we don't pass it on. Now, some places do. A lot of utilities do.
And how does it impact the cities? I mean, you could sort of imagine it's like, oh my gosh, this month we owe a lot more than we had anticipated. The cities.
$80,000 in 2024. That's what the impact was.
Yeah.
That we didn't
budget for.
We didn't anticipate. I'm not sure we didn't budget for it because I think that the wholesale total costs didn't end up 80,000 higher, but that was 80,000 of it was this charge. So we were probably fairly conservative in what we ended up budgeting in our wholesale purchase number, and it's difficult to predict also because we don't know what our customers are going to buy, and we don't know how many customers we're even going to have, and that's been growing too in these past couple of years. That's part of our budget picture these days, which is kind of nice to figure out what to do with. So I'm recommending a small 2% rate increase, but let's keep talking about what's included in that before we have to ask you to make that consideration. You can see the 5-year running, 3 actual years, 2 budget years of what's going on. Our personnel costs we actually have just slightly lower in 2026. This one is really hard to predict. We don't have a contract for 2026 wages yet, and that includes all of our line workers. And we don't always know which employee is going to take our insurance package for medical insurance and which one's going to use other options that they have available. And that can make a couple of tens of thousands of dollars difference depending upon which way they go. And so I think that's part of the reason why this number is down a little bit from the budget of 2025. is because of that calculation. But it's awfully close anyway. This number includes 2 line workers, an apprentice line worker, although we're hoping he'll be a journeyman quite soon. And then 32% of my salary, Kim's salary, Alyssa's salary, and Patrick's salary. And probably about half of Shane's cost as well. The supplies number, you can see that it fluctuates pretty wildly in the actuals. When we're talking about supplies, the biggest cost item for us is transformers, wire, poles, equipment like that, which if we buy, wire at $6 a foot and we need a few thousand feet of it, it starts to add up pretty fast. And transformers are regularly between $5,000 and $20,000 to buy. So as we get new customers and are expanding our system, you're going to see those expenses show up here on the supplies side. 2024 is a pretty big purchasing year. And this is also the costs for these items has really dramatically increased in the past 5 years, particularly after COVID, but it was really starting before that too, with supply chain shortages and transformer construction and copper prices getting really crazy and just lots of things like that. So we've got a robust number in here, and we've spent more than that in the past, but we're pretty confident in that. Services is paying for our own utilities, accounting services, legal services, also construction services when we hire out contractors to assist us with projects, and we do that quite often. When we're going to bury a new line, for instance, sometimes we would dig that in ourselves, but most of the time we'll try to find a contractor to do a project like that with us. And that number is, again, pretty close to what it's been in the past. The purchase power, you can see, is we're predicting about flat with what the budget was in 2025 and just a little bit more than what it was in 2024. This is with a 10% rate decrease. I'm not sure whether this number is right. I think SIMPA is suggesting it's a little lower than that based on their own predictions. But we're expecting there to be a noticeable increase in kilowatt sales in 2026 because we've had most of a year of a full apartment building, and they're going to be mostly full next year, and we're going to have a whole heating season with them. There's going to be another apartment building that's going to have most of a whole heating season next year, and they have a lot of electric load on those buildings, so that's new customers that help share the cost of the whole system. That's good to see. Miscellaneous costs are just things that don't fit into those other categories, and there's not a whole lot of them. Depreciation is, you can see it's staying kind of flat at this basically $250,000. And that includes depreciating the assets that we actually put in the electric department. So that means our power poles and wires and transformers and equipment and buildings, particularly the power plant building. But as you can see, the debt service number was in 2022, $75,000, then $40,000, then $24,000. What happened there was we stopped paying debt service on the power plant after 2023. That was 20 years into our bonds, and we don't have any more payments. So the debt service usually goes down as you go on in a bond payment because it's only paying, the interest is what we're showing in the debt service. So in 2024, that amount, the $24,000, is the electric department's share of the interest on the Public Works Garage bond. That's the only debt service that they had left at that point. You can see it's about the same in 2025. And in 2026, now it's increased as we've added in the electric fund's share of the debt service on this building. And we'll talk more about what this building's impact is on this budget when we look at page 2.
Just to go back to purchased power.
Yeah.
So the numbers, the dollar amount's about the same, but it sounds like what you're saying is we're going to be buying more kilowatt hours from SIMPA, but at a lower rate. Is that right?
That's my expectation. Yeah.
See, that'd be kind of interesting to see how that I mean, there's sales here, but is there, oh, no, but, oh yeah, kilowatt hours purchased. Kilowatt hours purchased, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we know that, what our history's been with sales has been, we predict 1 to 2% growth for a long time. And then maybe about 10 years ago, noticed it's actually not, it's closer to flat in terms of what a prediction would look at in a regression analysis of, 20 years of sales numbers. And then in 2020 happened, and there was a big jump down. In 2020, with COVID and all the closures, sales were down 8%. We thought they might be closer to 10% down for most of the year, so that was really tough. And they've remained lower through 2024. They didn't really ever come back to the 2023 number. That's the biggest one we've got. And I think we'll probably surpass that in, if not this year, definitely next year.
Surpass.
The sales, kilowatt sales of 2019 and 18 and the years before 2020.
So you think we'll be back up in the 25,000 range?
The utility bills and fees is the line item in the revenues where we show kind of the results of our kilowatt sales. I don't know that we've got the millions you're looking at. Yeah, 2019 was about almost 25 million. You can see the 2014 before that was the previous peak at about that same number. And it's not quite back up to there. 2024 was still pretty flat at 23.5 million. But we're gonna get up above 24,000 or 24 million, I think, this year. And so we're starting to creep back up again in terms of just total kilowatt sales. Or purchases, I suppose we're looking at the top of that. You can see there's a gap between the amount of kilowatts that we measure at our substation that we buy from Simpa versus the amount of kilowatts that we measure at everybody's meter combined, which is what we sell. There's a certain amount of line loss on our system, just
Oh, so that is just inefficiency, you think?
mostly, yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
It's mostly what it is.
That's interesting. I mean, it's probably that little gap is a lot of dollars, right? I don't know what.
Well, it's, a small single-digit percentage, which is what we kind of just expect,
Yeah.
just from transformer loss and line loss, and there's slight inefficiency there. That's pretty close, I think, those two numbers. So what do we expect to collect? About 2.9 million if we don't change rates at all in 2026 is what we're expecting to collect. And a 2% rate increase would then add about $58,000 more to that. The other big pieces of our budget are Simpa payments. Although we're done paying our bond payment for the power plant, we still have a deal with Simpa to sell the capacity of the plant for $216,000 a year. This is something that Simpa's talked about having an appetite for increasing the amount that they buy from their members. I don't think that we've got an ability to add any more
Capacity.
generation
Yeah.
at our site. First, because we haven't actually used 6 megawatts of load ever, and that's what we can generate. But secondly, because I think it would probably require a transmission study to see whether or not we could put more than 6 megawatts on the line, and I don't know whether that's worth doing.
So, so Simpa pays us this 216 whether they use the money or not. Is it just
They use, it's valuable to them to have the capacity, which is
Right.
different than the power production. So just the ability to produce the power is the capacity, and they need to show enough capacity to meet their load prediction and actual power production to meet their actual power sales. So they have to look at both sides of that. And the capacity on a diesel plant like this, they get to use most of the percentage of the actual nameplate capacity in the accounting with the regional transmission systems, which is good. Even if they don't ever use it, to have the ability to use it, that's how valuable these plants are, particularly as we're switching over to more renewables, which are less predictable. And the percentage that they get to use on those is really, really low, like single digit low. You know, you build 100 megawatts of solar capacity and you only get a couple megawatts of capacity credit for that. Even
Because of its uncertainty.
because it's uncertain,
Yeah.
yeah, and because you can't match it up necessarily with when there's
demand.
need. So that means that there needs to be dispatchable power as well that can be just turned on in quick fashion when the needs of the customers and the ability for our transmission or for renewables to meet that don't match. Which is why SIMPA is still investing in more dispatchable plants of their own. A couple of large gas turbine plants that they've built in the past 10 years in Owatonna and what's the other one at Austin? Yeah. And they're still looking at another one right now that's coming online. And they would, like I said, they'd build more of these, what they call quick start plants, which are member-owned generation that they own the capacity of through contract. I think, is New Prague adding one? Somebody, one of us is adding some more capacity through this, and so the prices are nice. This one is $18,000 a month, which is $3 a kilowatt of 6,000 kilowatts a month, and I think the prices are quite a bit higher that they'll offer now for new construction, but sadly, so are the costs of putting in new generation. This plant cost us just under $3 million in 2003, 2002, and today it would cost, I don't know, 12 million. So
this 216,000, this is, that isn't purchased, that isn't a dollar amount of the purchases they made from us for electricity coming out of that plant. That's really it's like, here, you will supply us when we need it, and you're gonna be there as backup. Here's 216,000. Thank you very much.
So our contract, we have two contracts with SIMPA that define our relationship. The first one is the power sales agreement, which says we agree to buy all of the power that we need from SIMPA. All of it, no exception.
Marais does.
Marais, and all the members do. Each of us have that. That's the basis of the organization, is these power sales contracts that say we will buy all of our power from SIMPA. Which means even if we own a power plant and we operate it, we can't use it because we have to buy all of our power from SIMPA. So we own the plant, but when we operate it, they own the power. And they pay for the fuel. So the kilowatts that are produced there are theirs, and we actually have to pay them for the kilowatts that are produced there, because we have to buy our power from them. Now, that's a tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of the power we use, because it really doesn't run that often. When we put that plant in, the conversation was 500 or 1,000 hours a year, and it's really more like 50 to 100 that we actually run it.
So there's two, it seems like there'd be two circumstances we'd run it. One is if a tree falls in the line coming up from Duluth. And now we don't have power from SIMPA, so we have to run it to supply the city.
Yes.
So that's one. The other one would be if SIMPA is running out of power because it's hot in Rochester and they need more.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be SIMPA, it would be MISO, so
Okay.
the Midwest, and they look at different demand versus supply in different markets and will call for transmission to be turned on or generation to be turned on.
So do we get revenue in that instance?
Uh,
Or is
SIMPA
SIMPA gets revenue?
Definitely does get revenue from that, yes. And, but this is, when we put this power plant in, the 216 was paying most of our capital costs for it. So basically they were paying for the power plant anyway. And now we're done paying for it, and so this is all free and clear.
I see.
Which is a great deal, and it's a good deal for them too. This is still pretty cheap capacity for them to buy on the market. Reliable, dispatchable capacity. The third reason why we would turn on the plant, and probably the most common reason we actually do, just to exercise it.
Yeah.
So every month we try to run it just to make sure everything's working.
Right.
And so the second most common is the market demands it, so SIMPA says turn it on. And they can actually turn it on from Rochester. And then the third reason, least common but most important that we have it, is when the transmission lines are down, we can isolate ourselves and run the whole town.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that's only when the transmission to town is out.
Is- yeah.
When there's an outage in town on our system, it doesn't help to have those plants.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually do pay us other monies, however, and so this miscellaneous amount is interest we make on funds we have. That's a big part of it. But the other big part of it is payments from SIMPA for other things. So SIMPA pays us for fuel for the plant. If it runs a lot, that number, the miscellaneous number, will go up. SIMPA pays us for when we make rebates to our customers for energy efficiency things. They pay us for that. So that's a big chunk of our miscellaneous payments, is other things SIMPA might pay to us. And then you can see this last solar EV line. There is some revenue that we get from operating our solar and EV systems. You know, we get people pay to use the EV chargers, and we operate, when we're doing a deal where we have to give a customer money for their solar that they have on their building, that SIMPA's paying for that as well. Because we can't buy the power from the customer, we have to buy it from SIMPA. Our capital budget is supplied by that depreciation number, which is money we're planning on collecting in rates, but that doesn't have a corresponding cost allocation with it. So it's just gonna get accumulated in our bank account. But we actually do have some ways we're planning to use it. And then this debt service number, which is the same thing, interest payments that are due. So that's 331,000. Of that, 215 is spoken for, and here are the amounts. The Public Works Facility number, 113,976, is the amount that the electric fund is going to pay next year towards the Public Works garage debt payments. You can see how that compares to the $25,000 of debt service. That's how much of that is interest. The rest is actually principal payments. So we're getting to a place where a lot of principal is being paid on those bonds. The interest is starting to come down. And then the 2024 City Hall bond is new. We've been anticipating this. We've talked about this as being one of the things that we're going to use our capital money for in the future, but we didn't know what the payment was. This number at 100,000 might be a little more than we end up needing to contribute towards it. It was my plan in October, but I think based on what we talk about next month with water and sewer budgets, this number might need to be adjusted yet. So because of that, I'm going to say let's hold off on taking action on any rate changes yet. Because we could still come back and say that's off by 20, and there's 10 or so savings in medical insurance expenses, and we sharpen our pencil on purchase power, and maybe we don't actually need to do a rate increase at all.
So these debt commitment numbers, how do they relate to the debt service number on the previous page?
Debt commitment is we're going to write a check for this amount of money. And so that includes the capital payment and the interest payment, like the principal interest both. Whereas the debt service number on the expense side is only interest. So we don't expense the principal payments of loans. It doesn't show up on the expense side of things because it's
Kind of like
being
a payment to
depreciated
yourself.
instead, right?
Oh.
So we take the value of that asset and we're depreciating it. We're not expensing the principal payments of it. If you did both, you're double counting that cost.
Yeah, yeah. So there's the 85, 288 it's a fraction of this, and the remainder is capital.
Yeah, the 85 to
principal
88
payments.
is 60,000 in interest towards the city hall building and 25,000 in interest towards the public works garage.
I see. And in that last paragraph, you talk about your fund balance. Is that shown anywhere around here?
We don't have that on here. We do report that. Are you guys getting our monthly financial statements from Kim? I mean, I know you are, Craig, because the council gets them,
Yeah.
but,
I don't think I've seen them.
okay, we can show you that. I mean, that's reported on a monthly basis where all the expenses, all the revenues, and what the balances are for each of the general ledger accounts as well as what's in the bank.
So our fund balance, when you say there, that's the electrical
Yes.
service, just that
Just the
portion.
electric utility has its own separate funds, all of its money is accounted for separately. And so I talked a little bit about this rate study. We did a rate study, and I don't remember how many years ago now. Was it 5 years ago, maybe?
That feels right.
And that study suggested that our balance was a little low and needed to increase. And it has, like we've made sure that when we do this calculation, particularly here in the capital budget, we're collecting 330,000 with plans to spend 215. The rest of that money is accumulating in the fund balance. So the fund balance has grown. I think it's north of $1 million right now. And I don't remember what we want it to be, but I think after 5 years, the predictive value of that study is probably passed and we should redo it. So what the rate study looks at is what are the cost elements in our budget and what should we be charging our customers and also how should we be charging our customers. So one of the things that was in the rate study that we have done a little looking at but haven't implemented yet was, do we want to do demand billing for our largest customers? Where right now all of our customers pay the same amount, which is a fixed fee based on their service size, and then a per kilowatt hour rate that's the same for everybody, for every kilowatt that they buy. And if we were to do a demand billing instead, it would take our largest customers and charge them a demand rate, which is some amount of money per kilowatt that their highest demand number ends up being over the course of a month, and a lower rate for kilowatt hours of energy. So we just break their bill up into separate pieces, and we collect the same amount of money, but we probably redistribute those costs pretty significantly on those customers. For those folks that have a load chart that goes up and down all the time, it's going to cost them more because they're going to be paying for the peak of their demand, and they're not buying enough energy for them to notice a savings in the lowering of the kilowatt rate. For those customers that have a real smooth load curve, which I don't know if we have any of those, that's an industrial kind of thing, then they would end up probably getting a better rate off of a program like that. The reason we would look at doing demand billing is because we pay a demand bill on our wholesale rate. We pay a transmission and a demand charge based on our load, our peak load during the month, and then an on-peak and off-peak electric rate. So when we turn around and take our large customers and charge a demand rate, we're trying to incentivize them keeping that
Bring their
peak as
peak
low
down,
as
yeah.
possible, because that makes a difference for us too. Our largest customers aren't particularly large in the universe of what large customers look like. We happen to be at least one of them at the wastewater plant. That's probably one of our better load curve customers in the system anyway, because it's just a lot of electric motors running pretty constantly. But our other large customers are all, as you can imagine, government and such type customers. So,
Right.
yeah. So we looked at a little bit of that. We haven't implemented that yet. I think we'll probably look at it again. Since we've been collecting data on it, we can have our consultant that we used before help us look through that and decide, does it make any sense to charge a demand bill to these folks?
So our last rate study suggested the fund balance should be allowed to increase to approximately 50%. And you're saying it is at about 50% of our annual expenses?
I don't think it's quite there, but I think it's close.
Less, I think.
But you know, we're looking again in 2025, that amount should go up, and in 2026, we're budgeting for it to go up again. So if we did a study next year, we wouldn't use that to adjust 2026 rates. We'd use it to think about 2027 and the next 5 years.
And that's the fund balance is like rainy day fund kind of like why is that money sitting there? I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just what's the thought?
Yes. So we don't have a cash flow type issue in this fund because we're getting monthly collections from customers. So we probably only need about 2 or 3 months worth of revenue to feel good about cash flow. But when we do have things happen, they cost $250,000 or $500,000. If we need to buy something for the power plant, and we just need to, that's what it might cost. It might cost $5 million, right? So I mean, that's the reason it is a rainy day fund, and you know, it rains a little bit all the time, and
Right.
sometimes it rains a lot. So
Yeah.
that's the reason to have it up where it is.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, 10 transformers go out at once and suddenly it's like, oh my gosh. That's,
Or 10 new customers show up and
And you
need
have to-
big transformers.
You gotta buy stuff
Yeah,
that we didn't plan on buying.
because it's hard to plan on that stuff. We don't necessarily know. We do, you know, this budget includes money to do what we consider a typical year
Average, yeah.
when it comes to that, but
it's like things unforeseen.
unforeseen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Projects too. One of the projects we've had on our books for a little while now that we've been talking about actually now is on SIMPA's books. And that is to replace the manual switches on our transmission interconnect up at the substation with motorized switches. So right now, meaning literally like Frankenstein switches, right? Except they're up on a big tall pole where they have to manually move a lever to open a circuit to disconnect our system from the transmission line. And you know, that's a lot of voltage up there that makes an interesting show when you open and close a switch.
Like
that
a lot of sparks. Is that what you're
Sparks,
saying?
yeah. And our guys are standing right underneath it, moving this switch. So it's not, you know, they have protective equipment, but it's still
Be nice to not.
what
have to do
we've
that.
wanted for a while is let's look at switching that up. And so when SIMPA has been sending their staff up to look through the substation with us, that's a project that we've talked to them about, and now it's on SIMPA's capital plan to do that, to replace that switch probably next year, which should be really nice. Another big project that our guys got pretty much done now this year, which was slightly inconvenient to our customers, was replacing insulators in the substation itself. So that's work where, and the insulators were all installed in the late 90s, 98, 99, that's when the substation was built. And they break and they degrade and they need to be replaced. And we had some that were pretty degraded, so our guys said, this is important, we need to get this done. It means they show up in the middle of the night, disconnect the entire city from power so that they can work in the substation safely and remove old insulators and replace them with new ones. So it took them a couple of times through to do that, but they have to turn off the power to town to do it. We don't have a way to send power without it going through a substation. And
Yeah.
we can't have the guys in there working on it
Right.
when it's energized.
That was these 4 a.m. outages that
Yeah,
where all my fire alarms
or
went off in my
even
house.
earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing that, for our guys for getting up in the middle of the night and doing that work.
Yeah.
So that's the big picture, what's going on with the electric budget. Like I said, I think there's been enough things that's changed in the last month that I'd ask you to wait till next month to take action on any rates.
Okay.
And we'll look at the water and wastewater budgets next month as well. And Scott will come in here and we can talk with him about some of the things that are going on there. Quite a few interesting things going on with water and wastewater. Just a quick preview. Of course, you know this all because you've been touring the plants with us, but
Yeah.
there's been a lot of action at the water plant this
Has there?
year.
At the water plant.
At the water plant. We've been talking about the wastewater plant for a long time because we know that's the big project that's coming up. But that actually kind of has a chilling effect on doing upgrade work because it doesn't make sense to replace that piece if you're gonna just replace it again in 5 years.
Yeah.
Which they've still done quite a bit of replacing there. But at the water plant, we've done more. Roof's new, the filter materials are cleaned out, the filter basin, which was
Relined,
cracking
right.
and leaked, has been grouted and repaired. We've replaced pumps, which meant we had to put lifting eyes into the ceiling before we replaced the roof. We've replaced the chemical feed systems and the containment that they're in. We've replaced some of the ways that we're monitoring how to do that. Scott's working on ways to make the chemical feed system work better so that it feeds based on our volume that we're producing rather than having to be manually operated. So a lot of we haven't been talking so much about because the wastewater plant's been getting the attention, but a lot of work's gone on in the water plant this year. And more to come, unfortunately, so we'll have a fun list to look at there.
Is there like, seems like there should be a little story on that in the like News Herald, or I don't know if there was one.
I don't know if there is either. It'd be easy to put together because we put in the weekly updates. Scott's pretty good about putting that stuff in there when we do it. So there's probably 10 things in weekly updates that you could combine into one story of our water plant's really been.
There should be, like people should know that
Yeah.
we've been doing these upgrades and it's both needed and contributes to, I don't know, community well-being.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, it's the wastewater plant's the one that people notice,
Right.
but the water plant's the important one.
Well,
Like we just
both
can't
important.
get that one wrong, right?
It's important, but it's kind of taken for granted too, you know?
Yeah, we want it to be something that people don't have to think about.
Sure.
And so then we don't necessarily think to tell that story
Yeah,
as loud as we could.
but it should be really. I mean, people should know. So I don't know if that's communications department or who.
His eyes lit up, didn't they, when you said that?
Patrick's
He
like,
nodded his head,
a new
yes.
project for me. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard. As you say, it wouldn't be that hard. And
I think the pieces are all there.
All the
yeah.
information's there, just pull it
probably
out.
even photos around you could.
In the weekly update.
Yes, and Brian Larson's always happy to get more stuff for his paper. So
It's a good idea.
you gotta.
I
got
can
it?
hear the
Yeah.
gears turning already, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it's
What's your
consider
deadline?
it done.
You tell me.
2 weeks.
Be like, for your information section.
He'll come back with an answer
Yeah.
and tell you when it'll be done.
All right.
Give him a minute.
I'm kind of joking, but I
Yeah.
mean, I think it was a good idea, but I don't know what the deadline would be.
Yeah, there's no emergency need to do
No.
it, but as long as it's fresh in our mind and we got it all there, yeah.
All this stuff's been going on. So anyway, so we're gonna revisit this next month.
Yeah,
Yep, when we talk about sewer water.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for all that information. That was good to understand that. Any other questions about,
No, I don't think so.
any other items? I don't think so. I don't have any other things. I was just trying to think about if we should. Yeah, no, we could probably bring that up the next meeting. We'd be better, we might be more, as far as the tree, when is that, what is that?
The urban forest plan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
does that incorporate into the city as a whole for private people or for protecting city lines,
There
when we
was-
identified dangerous trees and things like that,
Yeah,
there's a grant being worked on.
yeah, the grant for removing those trees that could fall on properties,
Okay.
yeah, or structures, yeah.
That's in the process right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was with the, I presented it to the city council
Right,
and then,
right.
Yeah.
But
kind
to
of-
utilize that is not available right now.
There is no grant, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
We're
There
in
won't
that-
be one until next year if we
Right.
finish that and write it
Right.
and are successful.
Right, right.
So, yeah,
So that's something we're looking at preparing for, but it's out in the future yet for,
our original grant was to do that.
Yeah.
And the DNR, who administered the grant, said, write a plan first.
First, yeah.
For your whole city, write a urban forest management plan.
Yep.
And then come back and ask for our money.
So we use that money to get set up to go back to them with, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that it'll affect what we're doing in the electric department.
No, I don't think it will either, but I mean, it's, I guess, it helps to maintain our stuff, I guess.
It would.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, we already do, and if you look in the plan itself, there's some pretty big numbers in terms of city maintenance obligations. But we're already doing a lot of tree trimming, particularly
Oh,
in
yeah.
the electric department. And they already do remove hazard trees. Anytime one's brought to our attention that we agree is a hazard to the electric system, we'll get it taken down.
Okay.
So I think that we're not waiting for any grant opportunity to
No.
keep doing that.
No.
And I don't think there's like a backlog that we would use that for either.
Okay. Well, with that, I don't have anything more to say.
Any news on getting a third commissioner?
Oh,
No, could use one. This is about the time of year where we put our big push out for all of our board openings. But we've been quietly but continuously advertising for this position for some time now.
6 months? Yeah.
Yeah. Has anyone asked you about it?
Nope.
Have you asked anyone about it?
There's one guy I talked to, it's like, no, not interested, but can keep asking.
We have to up our game a little bit. Should we plan a trip to Sherco and tour the power plant there while it's still operating?
You mean just because that would be fun and would
Yeah.
attract new commissioners?
Yes.
Sure. I'll go.
Becker's beautiful this time of year.
Oh yeah, Becker County too. It's
Yeah.
lovely.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
A lot of good climbing out there.
Absolutely fantastic.
Mid-state climbing, is there such a thing? There might be
They
a
probably
bowl.
wouldn't let you go up the stacks.
That'd be the only opportunity.
Yeah.
You can climb up some boulders, some glacial erratic that's 10 feet high.
Sure.
okay, well,
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
meeting adjourned, thank you.